Hey, how's it going? Today I'm going to be talking about Gulag Archipelago and what that is. I will touch on a book that was published some time ago. It's called Gulag Archipelago, a book written by a Russian author and dissident Aleksandr Solzhenitsyn. The full title of the book is Gulag Archipelago, uh, 1918 and 1956, an experiment in literature investigation. It was first published in 1973 in Paris and it was banned in Soviet Union due to its critical and revealing content. The book is harrowing and detailing accounts in Soviet Union extensive systems of forced labor camps known as gulags, which exist in the early days of Russian Revolution in 1917 until the mid 1950s. Solzhenitsyn himself was a prisoner in Gulag for several years, and his book is based on his personal experiences as well as the testimonials of other former prisoners. I have read it. I don't know if I have understood this book very well. I have read it. Some of the accounts, so some of the people, as well as myself. I have watched a number of different documentaries that I'll be covering a little bit more in detail and perhaps some of the reason behind it. So having some perspective as well as in some of those documentaries, there was accounts from the people who actually been in those camps and perhaps some of the thoughts, thinking processes of overall why those forced labor camps was implemented, how it started in some of the islands, and how all the system progressed, and how the system at the time was the reasoning behind the system. Myself, I'm trying to understand everything. I'm not the best at it. I'm definitely not the best at it. I'm not a journalist. I'm trying to understand myself. Just so it's a history. So the least that myself, I wouldn't find myself in particular situations repeating a history. If anything, I'm trying to draw some lessons and bring those lessons into business context. I'll try to do that if it's possible, I guess. It might be a challenging concept since I'm going to be looking at the gold in particular. So, forced labor camps, and with regards to gold, that's what I'm going to be focused on. There's a lot of suffering, and I can only imagine. I don't want to be demonetized for any reason whatsoever. It's not the reason why I'm doing this. I don't know who did what, why did it, I don't know nothing. I need to make a statement. I'm trying to understand gold, right? So, what would be the process to extracting gold? That's what I'm going to be focusing on, perhaps. If I, it depends on how much time I'm going to have between moving in different areas. I'm going to be looking at the research on how to extract gold and how to use perhaps workforce and perhaps not necessarily a cheap workforce to do it. But that's what I'm actually interested in and how to do it, right? And perhaps there's certain ways how it can potentially be used to replace human with different technologies instead of forcing people to do it. Perhaps there's a technology which could perhaps serve to do or solve some of those issues, especially when we're talking about gold value, exchange of value. But there's a way to understand it better. We need to take a look at the history. So that's what I'm saying. Gulag Archipelago is a both work of literature and historical document. It describes the brutal conditions, human rights abuse, as well as suffering endured by millions of people who were imprisoned in these camps. Solzhenitsyn's book plays significant Gulag Archipelago a significant role in exposing the horrors of Soviet Union penal systems and contributed to the international condemnation in Soviet regime human rights violations. Overall, book for those who haven't read it, I would highly recommend it. It seems I wasn't there at the time, so I know as much as perhaps most people. And if anything, I'm trying to learn from history. Forced labor camps in Soviet Union, commonly referred to as gulags, were used for a wide range of purposes, including extracting valuable resources like gold. In Soviet government utilized the forced labor of political prisoners, criminals, and other detainees to support various industries, including mining. Some of those people were very young. So, from my own personal experience, how much research I have done, I don't know how and why would you send people that how they can do anything. They're 20 years old, but that's my personal understanding of what was happening at the time. If they person how it can be against the party, I guess. But either way. Gold mining was one of the economic activities carried out in gulags. Prisoners were often subject to harsh conditions and forced to work in mines, where they would extract gold as well as other valuable minerals and resources. The Soviet regime saw the exploitation of these resources as a way to support industrialization and economic development, often at the expense of well-being and lives of those prisoners in the labor camps. Roughly about, from what I understand, I don't know those resources are accurate. About 10% of all the people who would be operating in those forced labor camps would die every year. So about 10% labor force losses that it would undergo. That would be overall process, and the number of those forced labor camps would constantly would grow over time. So, and some of the systems, overall processes might improve over time, but the loss of human life would undergo about 10%. The question of the first town in Siberia for forced labor camps is a bit more specific and relates the history of Soviet Gulag systems. Gulags, or the main directory for camps, was vast network of labor camps and penal colonies established by the Soviet Union in the early 20th century. The system was used for various purposes, including political repression, economic development, and resource extraction. One of the earliest forced labor camps in Siberia was established in the city of Solikamsk in the late 17th century, but it was not a part of Gulag system as we understand it today. The modern Gulag system, with its extensive network of labor camps and prisons, was established in the early 20th century under Soviet government. In the first town in Siberia associated with the Soviet Gulag system was likely Savostlak, which was established in the early 1930s. Savostlak was located in the remote Kolyma region of northeastern Siberia and played a significant role in the forced labor system, particularly in the extraction of gold and other minerals. The research that I have done, I don't know how accurate that is. First year was very bad year. A lot of people suffer. A lot of people suffer a lot, right? Based on output of overall operations was in comparison, let's say not that much. One metric ton of gold, right? That was first year. Over time, that's rough numbers. I cannot check because of the records, right? I cannot check if that's accurate numbers. But after 1 year, next year was 2 metric tons, right? So people out there that had better equipment, better tools. Next year, third year, was 5 metric tons of gold, right? So they improved the systems. Not that many people had to drag weight or dig for gold. They had to implement different systems, and over years the system improved, constantly improved, and from there most, if not all, of the gold that Soviet Union had was coming out from these established forced work camps, right? That's history. That's what happened, right? And I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't know. This is what happened. It's history. My feelings, my opinion, it doesn't really matter. That's what happened, right? So that's just if we were to focus on facts, that's what happened. For those of you who are interested, perhaps in history, just so it would not necessarily repeat itself, just you can do your own research and understand it a little bit better. For those of you who are out there who would like to learn more, I highly recommend you purchase a journal. In this journal, I'm focusing on efficiency, being more productive, and making most of your time. Uh, for those of you, it's, I don't know. It's a tough world up there. That's what I can say. I'm working all the time. I'm working all the time myself. Yeah, it's a tough world. I don't know. It's life, right? I would highly recommend to for you or for those who are interested in focusing on daily routines, making most of your time, and focusing on 24 hours. Perhaps if you were to begin with motivation, progress into your perhaps dictionary, as well as trying new things and perhaps adapting as a habit, constantly repeating a particular task and improving in those particular tasks. You can find this book in the description below, as well as Top Retailers has it. The different countries had different processes and methods how they're going to extract different resources, and some of the countries had very uh, compared to different methods how they're gonna do it, right? But either way, that's overall process, and over time, people will start have begin doing different things, and over time they improve those systems, and from there they adapt more of the machines, different approaches, and they overall improve those systems. But where everything begins, that's where I'm currently focusing on, especially if I'm looking to start different businesses, and so where those businesses would need to begin, how much energy some of those systems would require. Over time, the systems would improve, and hopefully it would be for betterment of everyone involved, I guess. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next one.